University graduation came faster than we expected. I completed my engineering degree with first-class honors, while Folake managed to raise her grades enough to earn her business diploma. As promised, Mr. Ogunbiyi offered me a full-time position at Oil Ninja. "We'd be fools to let you go," he said after I presented my final project, an improved version of the inventory system I'd worked on during my internship. Folake received a different kind of offer, a temporary contract in administration. Not the permanent position she had hoped for, but a foot in the door. "It's not fair," she complained as we packed our apartment in Ibadan. "We both interned there, but you get the royal treatment while I get crumbs." "It's not about fairness," I tried to explain. "Engineering positions are hard to fill, and I created a system they're actually using." "Of course you'd say that," she muttered. "Easy to talk about merit when everything comes easily to you." I bit my tongue, choosing not to point out the nights I'd studied while she went out or the weekends I'd spent in the lab while she slept off hangovers. Some arguments couldn't be won. We found a small apartment in Lagos, closer to Oil Ninja's headquarters than we could really afford. I offered to pay more of the rent since my salary was higher, but Folake refused. "I don't need your charity," she said proudly. "I can pay my share." But the strain showed in other ways. She stopped buying new clothes, brought lunch from home instead of eating in the company cafeteria, and took the crowded Danfo buses while I could afford occasional taxis. At work, our paths rarely crossed. I was busy in the engineering department, improving my inventory system and learning from senior engineers. Folake worked in administration, filing documents and answering phones, work she considered beneath her talents. "I didn't study business to be a glorified secretary," she complained nightly. "When are they going to recognize what I can really do?" I suggested she create opportunities to show her abilities, perhaps by proposing improvements to administrative processes, as I had done with the inventory system. "That's easy for you to say," she snapped. "They already think you're a genius. No one even notices me." There was some truth to this. In engineering, innovation was expected and rewarded. In administration, following established procedures was valued over creating new ones. Our career paths were diverging in ways neither of us had anticipated. 6 months into our work at Oil Ninja, a notice appeared on the company bulletin board. Special training opportunity, Houston headquarters, 6-month assignment. The company needed someone to learn their international inventory systems and bring that knowledge back to Nigeria. "You should apply," Folake said, surprising me with her encouragement. "You're perfect for this." With her support, I submitted my application and was called for an interview with the director of operations himself. "Your inventory improvements have saved us millions of naira," he said, reviewing my file. "We need that kind of thinking applied to our international operations." 2 days later, I received the news. I had been selected. I would spend 6 months in America, all expenses paid, plus a special allowance. When I told Folake that evening, her reaction seemed genuinely happy. She hugged me tightly, insisting we celebrate. "America!" she exclaimed, pouring cheap wine into our mismatched glasses. "My best friend is going international." That night, she helped me plan what I would pack, what I might see in America, how I should save part of my allowance to buy things unavailable in Nigeria. "You'll bring me something nice, won't you?" she asked, her eyes sparkling in a way I hadn't seen in months. "Of course," I promised. "Anything you want." I didn't see how her smile froze slightly, how something dark flickered behind her eyes. I was too caught up in my excitement in the warmth of having my friend's support again. "To America," she toasted, raising her glass. "To America," I echoed, never suspecting that this opportunity would set in motion events that would nearly cost me my life. Leaving for Houston was harder than I expected. Despite our tensions, Folake and I had rarely been separated since reconnecting at university. Now I would be gone for 6 months, leaving her alone in our Lagos apartment. "You'll be fine," I assured her at the airport. "And I'll call whenever I can." "I know," she said, hugging me tightly. "Just don't forget about me while you're becoming an international superstar." Houston was overwhelming, highways wider than any road I'd seen in Nigeria. Buildings that seemed to touch the clouds, stores filled with more goods than I could imagine. My small company apartment felt luxurious with its reliable electricity, constant hot water, and air conditioning I could control with the touch of a button. The training was intense. I worked long hours learning the American inventory systems, which were far more advanced than what we had in Nigeria. At night, I fell into bed exhausted, often too tired to call home as frequently as I'd promised. On weekends, I explored the city, taking pictures to share with Folake, massive grocery stores, shopping malls that seemed to stretch forever, the glittering Houston skyline at night. "It looks like heaven," she texted when I sent photos. "Are you sure you want to come back to Lagos traffic and Napa taking light every other hour?" "Of course," I replied. "Home is where you are." But as weeks passed, I noticed Folake's messages growing shorter, her questions about my work fewer. When I did call, she seemed distracted, often saying she was busy or needed to go quickly. "Is everything okay?" I asked during one call. "Fine," she said shortly. "Just busy. Some of us still have to prove ourselves every day, you know." The barb stung, but I let it pass. "How's work? Any chance of that permanent position yet?" "No," she said, her voice tight. "They hired someone from outside instead, a man, of course." "I'm sorry," I said, genuinely disappointed for her. "That's not fair." "Life isn't fair," she replied bitterly. "At least not for people like me." Our call ended soon after, leaving me with a heavy heart. I wished I could help her, but from thousands of miles away, there was little I could do besides listen to her frustrations. Meanwhile, my work in Houston was going exceptionally well. I quickly mastered the American systems and began suggesting improvements that impressed my supervisors. 3 months into my assignment, I made a breakthrough, developing a modification that reduced tracking errors by 40%. My American supervisor, Mr. Roberts, was ecstatic. "This is exactly why we bring in fresh eyes," he told the team during our meeting. "Aduke has seen something we've all missed." That night, despite the time difference, I called Folake to share my excitement. "That's great," she said, her voice flat. "Everything you touch turns to gold, doesn't it?" "It's not about luck," I said, hurt by her tone aside. "I worked hard on this." I know, she backtracked quickly. "I'm proud of you, really. Just tired. Tell me more about America. Have you met Beyoncé yet?" Her joke broke the tension, and we talked more normally after that. But something had shifted between us, a distance that couldn't be explained by mere miles. As my assignment neared its end, I spent my remaining weekends shopping for gifts to bring home. I spent nearly all my savings buying things I knew Folake would love. Designer clothes that cost less in America, perfumes, jewelry, makeup, and gadgets. I wanted these gifts to bridge whatever gap had grown between us, to show her that success meant nothing if I couldn't share it with my oldest friend. What I didn't understand then was that gifts, however generous, cannot cure the poison of envy once it has taken root in a heart. And some gifts come with hidden costs far greater than their price tag. After 6 months in Houston, I returned to Lagos with suitcases so heavy I had to pay extra fees at the airport. Folake was waiting in the arrival hall, jumping up and down with a handmade sign. "Welcome home, international superstar!" I ran to her, dropping my bags to embrace her. "I missed you so much." "Not as much as I missed you," she insisted, helping me gather my luggage. "The apartment was so quiet without your terrible singing in the shower." "Excuse me? My singing is amazing." I laughed, feeling the tension of the long flight melt away. It was good to be home. Back at our apartment, I spread my gifts across the living room floor. Clothes, perfumes, makeup, gadgets, and more. Folake's eyes widened as she unwrapped each item. "This is too much," she protested as the pile grew. "You must have spent all your money." "I wanted to," I assured her. "Besides, what's mine is yours, always has been." For a moment, pure joy lit her face, and I saw the girl who had been my childhood friend before adult complications and career pressures came between us. She hugged me fiercely. "I didn't get anything nearly this good for you," she said, presenting me with a carved wooden box. Inside was a beautiful beaded necklace in my favorite colors. "It's perfect," I said sincerely. I'll wear it tomorrow." That night we stayed up late like we used to, trying on clothes and laughing. It felt like old times, before Houston, before the jealousy, before the shadow I hadn't yet recognized fell between us. The next morning, as we dressed for work, Folake wore one of her new outfits, a sleek blue dress that fit her perfectly. "How do I look?" she asked, twirling in front of our shared mirror. "Amazing," I told her truthfully. "You'll turn heads today." At the office, I was welcomed back warmly. Director Ogun Biyi called me into his office immediately. "Your work in Houston impressed everyone," he said, beaming like a proud father. "They've asked us to implement your modified system across all our Nigerian operations." My heart swelled with pride. "Thank you, sir. I'm eager to get started." "There's more," he continued. "The board has approved a promotion for you, Senior Systems Analyst, effective immediately. With a salary increase, of course." I left his office walking on air. After years of hard work, everything was falling into place. I couldn't wait to tell Folake. I found her at her desk in administration, filing papers with a bored expression. Her face brightened when she saw me. "How was your first morning back?" she asked. I hesitated, suddenly unsure about sharing my news. But we had promised no secrets between us. "I got promoted," I said, trying to keep my voice casual. "Senior Systems Analyst." Something flashed in her eyes, too quick to read before she smiled widely. "That's amazing. We should celebrate tonight." Her enthusiasm seemed genuine, and I felt guilty for my moment of hesitation. This was Folake, my oldest friend. Of course she would be happy for me. That evening, she insisted on treating me to dinner at a restaurant we normally couldn't afford. "My success is our success," I told her as we clinked glasses. "We've been in this together since we were kids." She nodded, but something in her smile seemed strained. As we ate, she asked an unexpected question. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I had gotten that scholarship instead of you? If I had gone to America instead? Would you be where I am now, and would I be where you are?" The question caught me off guard. "What do you mean?" "I'm asking if you think we're where we are because of merit or just luck." I didn't know how to answer. Was she right? Was it just luck that had put me on this path? "I think we both worked hard," I said carefully. "But yes, I've been fortunate to have opportunities." "Opportunities you always make sure to share with me," she said, raising her glass again. "That's why you're the best friend anyone could have." Her words should have comforted me, but something in her tone left me unsettled. That night, I couldn't sleep, turning our conversation over in my mind. Was Folake truly happy for me? Or was the gap between our lives growing too wide for our friendship to span? 3 weeks after my return from Houston, my new position as Senior Systems Analyst was keeping me busier than ever. I was traveling to different oil Ninja sites across Nigeria, implementing my inventory system and training local staff. Meanwhile, Folake continued in her administrative role, though she had been given slightly more responsibility after a positive performance review. Our schedules meant we saw less of each other, despite sharing an apartment. One evening, I returned home to find Folake waiting eagerly at the door. "Something came for you," she said, holding out a thick, cream-colored envelope. "It looks important." The envelope contained an invitation to the 40th birthday celebration of Mrs. Ahdayemi, the wife of Oil Ninja's CEO. My hands trembled slightly as I read the gold-lettered card. "I can't believe it," I breathed. "I've been invited to the CEO's wife's birthday party." Folake examined and scanned the invitation with wide eyes. "Wow, that's impressive. Did you get one too?" I asked hopefully. Her expression tightened almost imperceptibly. "No, just the department heads and a few rising stars like you, I imagine." I bit my lip, my excitement dimming. "I'm sorry, I can ask if I can bring a guest." "Don't," she cut me off. "It's fine, really. I wouldn't enjoy all that fake small talk anyway." But I could see in her eyes that she was hurt. Once again, I had been included while she was left out. That evening, my boyfriend Kahyode called. He had also been invited to the party. Unsurprising, as he was a promising young accountant in the finance department, whom I had started dating shortly before my Houston assignment. "This is a big opportunity," he said excitedly. "The CEO rarely socializes with junior staff. If you impress him, who knows where it could lead?" I thought about Folake as he spoke. I wish my friend had been invited too. "Next time," Coyote said dismissively. "Focus on yourself for now. What will you wear?" And just like that, my guilt was swept away by practical concerns. The party was black tie optional, far more formal than anything I'd attended before. I had dresses, yes, including some nice ones from America, but nothing that felt special enough for this occasion. The next morning at breakfast, I sighed over my tea. I have no idea what to wear to this party. Folake looked up from her phone. "What about that blue dress you bought in Houston?" "Too casual," I said. "This is seriously fancy. The invitation even says black tie optional." She thought for a moment. "I saw a beautiful dress at Palms Mall yesterday, red with beading on the bodice. It would look amazing on you." "Really?" My interest perked up. "Let's go see it this weekend." That Saturday, Folake and I went shopping. The red dress was even more beautiful than she'd described, and well within my budget thanks to my promotion. As I twirled in front of the fitting room mirror, even the sales attendant gasped. "You look like a princess," Folake said softly. I looked at her reflection beside mine. "I wish you were coming too." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Just take pictures so I can see all the important people. And tell me if the food is as fancy as they say." I hugged her impulsively. "I'll bring you leftovers in a napkin," I joked, relieved when she laughed. But as we walked home, arms linked, shopping bags swinging, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted between us, something I couldn't name but could feel, like a distant storm approaching. The night of the party arrived faster than I expected. I laid my new red dress carefully on the bed, alongside the jewelry Coyote had given me for my birthday. A simple gold necklace that would complement the dress perfectly. As I arranged my outfit, panic suddenly struck. I had completely forgotten about shoes. The only formal heels I owned were black, which would look terrible with the red dress. "Folake," I called desperately. "Do you have any shoes I could borrow for tonight? Something that would go with red?" Folake appeared in my doorway, coffee mug in hand. She hesitated before answering. "I might have something." She disappeared into her room, returning moments later with a shoebox. Inside were the most beautiful gold heels I had ever seen. Delicate straps, just the right height, and tiny crystals catching the light. "These are perfect," I gasped. "Where did you get them? I've never seen you wear them." "My mother sent them from London," she said, watching me closely. "For my birthday last year." "Oh." I suddenly felt awkward. These weren't just any shoes, they were special. "Are you sure you don't mind me borrowing them? I can find something else." "No," she interrupted. "Take them. They'll look better with your dress than anything else." "Are you sure?" I asked again, already imagining how perfect they would look. Folake smiled. "Of course. Are we not sisters? I borrow your things all the time." Relief washed over me. "Thank you, I'll be extra careful with them. I promise." As I slipped the shoes onto my feet, I noticed Folake watching me with an intensity that briefly made me uncomfortable, but then she smiled again. "They fit you perfectly," she said, "like they were made for you." I walked a few steps, testing them out. "They're so comfortable, too. I don't know how to thank you." "Just have fun," she said, turning to leave. "And tell me everything when you get back." Later, as I prepared to leave, Coyote arrived to pick me up. Folake helped me with my final touches, fixing a strand of hair, adjusting my necklace, handing me my clutch purse. "You look stunning," she said, her voice oddly formal. "Everyone will be looking at you tonight." "I wish you were coming," I said again, meaning it. She shook her head. "This is your night. Enjoy it." As Coyote led me to his car, I turned back for one last wave. Folake stood in the doorway, her expression unreadable in the evening shadows. If I had known what those borrowed shoes would unleash, I would have kicked them off and run barefoot back to her, back to the safety of our childhood friendship before jealousy poisoned everything. But I didn't know. How could I? The Adayemi party was held at the Oriental Hotel, one of Lagos' most luxurious venues. As Kayode and I entered the grand ballroom, crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, reflecting in the polished marble floor. Tables draped in white linen surrounded a wooden dance floor, each centerpiece more elaborate than anything I'd ever seen. "Stop gawking," Kayode whispered with a smile. "Act like you belong here." I straightened my shoulders and followed him to our assigned table, conscious of the gold shoes catching the light with every step. Throughout dinner, important people from Oil Ninja stopped by our table. To my surprise, many knew my name. "Ah, you're a Duke," one executive said. "I heard about your inventory system. Brilliant work." Another added, "The CEO mentioned you in our last board meeting. We have our eye on you, young lady." Kayode beamed proudly beside me. I felt a mixture of excitement and discomfort. Excitement at being recognized, discomfort that Folake wasn't here to share the moment. After dinner came dancing. Kayode swept me onto the floor, my borrowed gold shoes gliding smoothly across the polished wood. "Everyone is looking at you," he whispered in my ear. Glancing around, I realized he was right. People were watching us, or more specifically, watching me. Women eyed my dress, my shoes. Men nodded appreciatively. "It's the shoes," an older woman commented as she danced past with her partner. "Simply divine." I smiled, making a mental note to tell Folake how many compliments her shoes had received. By midnight, my feet should have been aching. We had danced for hours. But strangely, the gold shoes felt as comfortable as slippers. When Kayode suggested we leave, I was reluctant to go. "Just one more dance," I pleaded, inexplicably unwilling to remove the shoes just yet. On the drive home, Kayode couldn't stop talking about the connections he'd made, the impression we'd created. "The CEO's wife asked about you specifically," he said excitedly. "Do you know what that could mean for your career?" I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. I felt odd, lightheaded and unusually warm despite the car's air conditioning. "Are you okay?" Kayode asked, noticing my distraction. "You look flushed." "Just tired," I assured him. "It's been a long night." When we reached my apartment, he walked me to the door. "I'll call you tomorrow," he promised after a brief kiss. Inside, the apartment was dark. Folake must have gone to bed. I kicked off the gold shoes with reluctance and placed them carefully back in their box. My head was pounding now, and my stomach felt unsettled. I made my way to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face. In the mirror, my reflection looked strange, my eyes too bright, my skin clammy. I chalked it up to excitement and too much champagne. That night, I dreamed of dancing in those gold shoes, dancing and dancing while everyone watched, unable to stop even as my feet began to bleed. I woke, gasping, the sheets tangled around my legs, my body drenched in sweat. "Just a nightmare," I whispered to myself. But it wasn't just a nightmare. It was the beginning of a waking one. If you're eager to see how this story unfolds, please subscribe and let us know in the comments below. Type continue to see episode 4. Your feedback will help shape future videos on this channel.